Thank you for joining me on Our Voice with Amina, where there's no stigma, no shame. আশা করি সব ভালো আছেন। আমরা তো লাস্ট 10 days রইছে রমাদানের, সো ইনশাল্লাহ সবে বেশি করে দোয়া কররা। আমরার মডার্ন লাইফের মাঝে কত ধরনের স্ট্রেস আছে। নিজের শরীরও খারাপ থাকতে পারে। খাম লইয়া স্ট্রেস থাকতে পারে। আমরা বিজনেস লইয়া স্ট্রেস থাকতে পারে। মেবি আমরা ফ্যামিলি ও আমরা বাচ্চাইন্তর লগেও স্ট্রেস থাকতে পারে। নিজে নিজের প্রবলেম যেটা আমরার লাগি মনত করি বড়, মেবি অন্যজনের লাগি এটা বড় নাই। বাট ইট ডাজন্ট মিন আমরার কোনো এফেক্ট অন না। স্ট্রেস করিয়া তো আমরা কত রকমেরও বেমারও পড়তাম পারি। লাইক মেন্টালিও বেমার পড়তাম পারি, আমরা ফিজিক্যালিও বেমার পড়তাম পারি। আর আমরা যদি বেমার থাকি তা আমরার ফ্যামিলি অ্যান্ড আমরা ফ্রেন্ডস আর আমরার লগে আসইন, আমরা তারারে খিলা সাহায্য করতাম পারমু। সো আইজকুল আমরা টপিক কইল স্ট্রেস লইয়া অ্যান্ড স্ট্রেস ম্যানেজমেন্ট। আমরা খিলা স্ট্রেসরে ম্যানেজ করতাম পারি। মানুষ স্ট্রেস থাকি খুব বেশিও অসুস্থ থাকতে পারেন। এমনও আছে যে মেবি লাইফ বালাবালি সারা জীবনও খাটাইছে। বাট একটা ঘটনায় তার এমন স্ট্রেস হইছে যে এই জিনিসটাকে ফিরিয়ে আইতে পারেন না। সো আমরা দেখতাম পারি যে তারা ও অমুক মানুষ তো যে স্ট্রং আছিল, যে আউট ইন দ্য কমিউনিটি বাট ইমান সুরক্ষিত হইল। সো আম আমরা আসলে কেউ কাউরে জাজ করতাম না। কার কোন সময় কোনখান হইব we don't really know. সো আমরা কি চিন্তা করিয়া দেখতাম পারি যে স্ট্রেস মেবি সামটাইমস আমরা নিজে নিজের উপরেও ফালাইতাম পারি। এটারে কয় সেলফ ইনফ্লিক্টেড স্ট্রেস। সো এখানের মানে হইল যে জিনিস আমরার কন্ট্রোলের মাঝে আছে, মেবি ওকে এটা লইয়া আমরা বেশি স্ট্রেস করা ঠিক নাই। দেখো আমরার কন্ট্রোলের মাঝেও নাই, এটা লইয়াও আমরা তো স্ট্রেস করিয়া কিছু করতাম পারতাম না। বাট সেলফ ইনফ্লিক্টেড স্ট্রেস মানে কিতা? মেবি আমরা মানুষ অবভিয়াসলি আমরার একটা চাইতা থাকে যে আমরা আরো চাই, আমরা আরো বালা করতাম চাই। মেবি আমরা আরো পয়সা চাই, সো আমরা আরো বিজনেস বাড়াইতাম কিলা, আমরা আরো কিলা আর্ন করতাম। ও জিনিস লইয়াও আমরা দৌড়াদৌড়ি করি। সো এটা মেবি হইতে পারে যে সেলফ ইনফ্লিক্টেড স্ট্রেস যেটা হয়। যে তোমার বালা খাইরায়, বালা ফিন্দিরায় বাট স্টিল তুমি আরো বেশি চাও। সো আগর আমরা যারা মুরব্বি আসলা, আমরা যদি থারারে দেখি যে থারার যেটা আমরার জেলা অপরচুনিটিস আছে, থারার ইলা আসিল না। একসময় আসিল যে থারার ফোন আসিল না, মোবাইল আসিল না। ফোন একটা করতে হইলো গাঁওর ফুসটা-ফুসো গিয়া তাইন একটা ফোন করতে হইতো, টেলিগ্রাম লিখতে হইতো, ৩ মাস বাদে খবর আইতো। আমরার তখন আতে আমরার মোবাইল আছে, আমরার সোশ্যাল মিডিয়া আছে, আমরার মেশিনারি আছে যে আমরার লাইফরে ইজি করবার লাগি। বাট এর বাদেও দেখা যায় যে আমরার স্ট্রেস তো কমে না। সবর টাইমেরও কম বাট স্ট্রেসও বেশি। সো এখানে এই জিনিসটা হয়। সো আইজ আমার লগে আসইন আমার একজন গেস্ট, তার নাম হইল যশ উদ্দিন। তাইন হইলা একজন হাই পারফরম্যান্স লাইফ কোচ। সো তার লগে আমরা মাতমু যে স্ট্রেস ম্যানেজমেন্ট লইয়া। বাট এর আগে আমরা একটা ছোট ইন্ট্রো ব্রেক লইয়াই অ্যান্ড ফরাইয়া আমরা তার লগে মাতিমু।
সকাল দুপুর সন্ধ্যা রাতে তোমার আমার কথা হবে রিল্যাক্স রেডিও বাংলায়, রিল্যাক্স রেডিও বাংলা,
রিল্যাক্স রেডিও বাংলা, সারাদিন সারাক্ষণ।
রেডিও বাংলা ফ্রিকোয়েন্সিস।
Welcome back viewers. So আইজ আমার লগে আসইন যশ উদ্দিন। সো আমরা ডিসকাশন আইজকু কি pretty much বেশিরভাগ ইংলিশে থাকবো, বাট আমি যেন পারি আমি ট্রাই করবো যে আমি একটু ট্রান্সলেট করতাম বা আমরা বাঙালি ভিউয়ার যারা আসইন তারারেও ইনক্লুড করতাম। সো প্লিজ আমরা লগে একটু আপনারা ধৈর্য ধরবা। আমরা ট্রাই করবো আপনারাও ইনক্লুড রাখতাম। সো যশ, can you hear me?
So, Amina, thank you for this opportunity. It's lovely being in this show with you. So, as you said before, my name is Josh Judin, and I'm a high performance and business and high coach. And basically, what I do, I work with people around managing stress, managing fear, self sabotage, looking at developing support plan for them to meet the goal.
What's your sort of experience?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. It's gone quite quiet. So what did you say?
Yeah, sorry, no, continue. Sorry, I think we just had a little break in our network somewhere.
Yeah, go on. Sorry, what was the question you asked me?
So it was your experience. So can you give us a bit about your experience? Working with people, working with stress. What is your background?
So basically, as a life coach, so my role is to help individuals or organizations to look at how to manage stress in their daily life, or it could be like relationship, looking at personal development, looking at how to achieve goals. For example, if you want to set up a business, it's looking at the skill set you need, the resource, the ideas, the vision, the business plan, but also for individual development, looking at how to improve your relationship, how to develop one's self-esteem, confidence. But so as a coach, imagine this: you're crossing a bridge. So I
Mhm.
can be beside you, or I can be on the other side of the bridge. But my job is to make sure that you unlock all your full potential and you reach your goals and your destination, your ambitions, because everyone is born talented, everyone has skills, everyone has knowledge, everyone is resilient. They have the DNA. As a human being, you have the DNA to manage change, to manage through adversity, to be able to cope with different aspect of stress, because that's what human beings are. We are born and gifted to be able to do that, but sometimes
Mhm.
you need someone who's independent, who can have empathy and who can help you to achieve that. Because when you talk to your friends or families, they're going to be quite
Mm.
subjective, because they're not going to give you
Yeah.
the advice as independent, because they're emotionally connected to you.
ওকে। সো আমরা ভিউয়ার যারা বাঙালি আছেন আমরা জোশে কিতা কই রাখি যে আমরা ডিএনএ যেটা আমরা যেটা লইয়া আমরা বোন হইছি। আমরা স্ট্রেস ম্যানেজমেন্ট করার যুকা আমরারে আল্লাহ ই ক্ষমতা দিছইন। সো আমরা যত বড় হইমু, যত জাতর এক্সপেরিয়েন্স হইব আমরার, যত জাতর প্রবলেম আইব, আমরার একটা ম্যানেজমেন্টর একটা ডিএনএ আছে আমরার মাঝে। Obviously sometimes আমরা এই ডিএনএ খিলা ইউজ করি না করি এটা হইলো বাদর কথা, বাট আছে আমরার মাঝে এই coping mechanism আকি কয় এটারে। So Josh, if you kind of go into what is self-care, can you give us some insight?
Okay, so when I'm talking about self-care means different thing to different people, different culture, different religion, different way. But basically self-care is about looking after yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, right? It's about, when we talk about self-care, there's quite obvious stuff. It's about having good sleep, looking at your diet, looking at the environment that you belong to, where you live, the environment that you work. It's about having healthy relationship, not just with your families, your friends, but with yourself. When I'm talking about healthy relationship, it's about how do you manage your own emotions? How are you aware about what your emotions do to you? It's about, having a good time, watching films, reading books, playing sports. Uh, so stress is individually tailored. Stress management and self-care is individually tailored for individual person, and you are the only person who is going to know how to manage stress or when you're stressed. Because when we get stressed, there are different signs, isn't there? You get trauma, you feel fear, you feel
Yeah.
anxiety, you can't sleep, where you might have relationship difficulties. Also, you might, do you understand when I talk about self-sabotage? So where you feel like
Self-sabotage, okay, so I'm understanding that self-sabotage means that, when you're destroying something within
within
yourself.
yourself. Yeah. So
Yeah,
self-sabotage
okay.
is that you sabotage yourself, because you say you're not good enough,
হুম।
you can't do this. There's I don't know
নিজে
what.
নিজরে like home মনে করা, isn't it? Like
Yes,
you're destroying
absolutely,
that feeling within you that I'm not
absolutely.
good enough.
Absolutely. There's an English word called gremlin. So in Bengali, I don't know what that word gremlin is, but gremlin is like, within yourself, you create fear, you limited belief. You think, oh my God, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. Well, folks, let me give you an example.
Mm.
In modern society now, one of the stress is the internet and the mobile phone and the TikTok and all that. Because what happens, everyone lives by this notion that you have to be liked by someone that you don't know on the other side of the phone.
Yeah.
So, and you have to get approval by everyone else. So that puts a lot of stress on a lot of people, thinking, oh God, I want that kind of life. I want to look like them. But that's not true. What
Mm.
you need to understand as an individual and as a person, you don't need anyone's approval apart from yourself, because you are born gifted, you are born talented, you have the admiration, you have the desire, you have the passion, you have the commitment. The fact that you're born means you already won the lottery of life. Yeah,
You're right.
that's a bonus. Everything
Yeah.
else, you just I'm trying to say.
Yeah, of course. So you kind of touched on like social media. So when we আমরা যেগুলা social media হই আমরা হই like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all these things. So এটা কিলা আমরা mental health এর affect করে. How does that affect our mental health? And what can we do to not let it influence us? So social media যে আমরা influence করতো অমুকে ও post দিছে যে সুন্দর কাপড় ফিন দিছে যে সুন্দর খানি খার যে বালা decoration. How can we stop ourselves from falling into that trap?
Well, that's a very good question, Amina, you asked, yeah. And I'll share some experience and some tips with your listeners. One of the things you could do, remember, you cannot control anyone else's thoughts or feelings. The only person who can control their thoughts and their feeling and action is yourself. So
Right.
one of the things you have to do is you have to understand and like yourself, accept who you are, accept your abilities. Remember, there's no such thing as perfect person. We are all work in process and progress, right? Every day is an opportunity to learn. Every day is an opportunity for new challenges and new opportunities, right? What
Mhm.
other people do on the Instagram or in the Facebook is their business. As soon as you allow that to come into your arena and your space, then
Mhm.
that's your problem. Yeah. So what you
Mm.
can do is about managing managing your expectation.
Okay.
Your expectation is, why am I looking at this Facebook or Instagram? What do I need to get at this? What is my intention? And how is this having an impact on me as a person? Right? You have a choice whether you want to tick onto that box and look at the Instagram or the face or whatever that is or the message. You always have a choice.
Mhm.
Now, no one can tell you what to do apart from yourself. It's like smoking, drinking, whatever that is. It's up to you.
Mm.
Now, you as an individual need to decide what kind of quality life that you want. And your
Mm.
environment, your social network, your family, your friends play an important part. Listen, if you do not look after yourself, no one's going to look after you. The first and the most
Of course.
important person is you. You have to look after yourself
Yeah.
in terms of, how do I sleep? How do I have I got, how do I look after my health? Am I doing exercise? Am I eating well? Have I got one of the other things about self-care
Mm.
is my social network. Are my friends good for me? Are my friends beneficial? Do my friends have a positive impact on my life? If my friends are having negative impact, how is that making me feel? And what is the benefit of that? Now, these are the
Okay.
things that we take every day. Every day we forget to take self-care in those areas.
Yeah.
Remember,
আমরা ওখানে তো বুঝতাম হইব যে like social media মাঝে যেটা দেখা যায়, it's not reality. It
no,
might be someone portraying something যে
yeah,
আমি দেখাই আর দুনিয়ারে যে ওলা ওলা বা ইগু তো একটা photo or video, maybe behind the scenes তারার কত জাতর problem আছে, কত জাতর আছে, this might not be the reality. So
no,
আমরা I suppose to the viewers or the listeners it would be that know that social media is an actual reality.
no. Listen, when influencers are selling you something or when you've seen a film, it's not reality. This is a Microsoft of what they're telling you. There's always a reason and an intention behind a post on Instagram or on TikTok, whatever that is, because they're selling you something. It's an advertising. They're selling you something and they want you to buy it. Now, it's up to you as a consumer, as a viewer, what you want to do with that information. Now, if you allow that information to consume you and take over
Mhm.
your mental well-being, then it's your choice.
Of course.
In every single aspect of our life, from media to family to friends, we have a choice. And that choice begins, and that will impact on how you feel, your emotional well-being, your stress.
Of course.
Remember, if you do not manage, if you do not look after yourself, you're going to increase your stress, a lack of empathy. You're gonna get burnout.
Yeah, and actually আমরা কি তাহলে social media তো use করি বেশিরভাগ মানুষে use
Yes,
করেন to show people. Okay, it's a show off tool, isn't it? I call it a show off tool. It's not social media. It's that, oh, দেখো আমি ওটা করি আর আমি ওটা করি আর, but actually, it's not as big as they make it out to be.
no.
of course, social media has positives and negatives. You
Yeah,
can use social media for good things as well as you can use it for
of
bad
course.
things. But I think as individuals, আমরা হাম্বুস্তাম হইবো যে just because একজন holiday গেছে কি to I don't know Maldives or whatever ওখানে আমিও যাইতাম হইবো আমি গরব হইয়া আমার পার্টনারের লগে মাইর করলাম ও মুখ গেছে কি Maldives আমি যাইতাম খেনে পারলাম না maybe তারা afford করতে পারে maybe তারা that's their way of living life, but you have to base it on yourself, isn't it?
Yes.
It's what is it that I've got and what can I make the most out of what I've got?
Yeah, and one of the things about like self-care, yeah, is that
Mm,
when you get up in the morning, you need to ask yourself, these questions. How is my morning going to be really beneficial for me? What am I going to get out of this morning? And how am I going to contribute? How am I going to perform to this universe? How am I going to show up? And in order for me to show up the best of my
mm,
abilities, how am I looking after myself? My diet. What am I drinking? Am
mm,
I smoking?
mm,
All this, you need to take that into account.
mm,
Also, when you come up and you're having a dialogue with different people from your work or personal or just in
mhm.
society, how are you showing up? If you're stressed, you're going to show that. So if you
Okay.
remember this, Amina, life is about performance. If you're under stress and anxiety, you're not going to be able to perform to your best of your abilities. The world is not going to
Abilities, yeah.
see you as your true abilities.
And actually, what it is, and this is from my own experience, I've seen like certain days, of course, I get stressed out, I get anxious, and that feeds off on other people. So mancheze blood they going to me stressed, to me anxious. Tarawaro, they play into that. They will stress you out more. And some people use that to their own advantage to make you look bad or make you look like you're not coping. And you have to understand that obviously it's almost like what you come with, you also project it onto other people. So if I go into my team stressed out, then I'm showing that to my team, and then my team is then stressed out.
Yeah, and then on that note, I'm going to say something else. Remember this: stress is not bad or good, right? There's
Mm.
no, but remember, in some cases you need stress. Yeah,
Yeah,
some cases you need to have stress to get your adrenaline fighting. Yeah, other
yeah.
times you don't. So you have to be aware how and good stress is. So there's no such thing as a good stress and bad stress. Sometimes when you're doing sports or when you're I don't know you're running stuff like that. There's different type of stress. It's about
Mm.
acknowledging which stress is good for you. And the other
Okay,
thing
because
is,
from
you're
some
not.
stress you can actually motivate yourself, isn't it,
Yes,
to do
absolutely.
better?
Yeah. So there's some stress, like when you're performing, say
Yeah.
you're an actor or you're in your work or your sports. You need to get that adrenaline. You need to get that kind of stress, good stress, so you can perform to your best of your abilities. But the bad
Mm.
stress, the ones that makes you ill, that's the one you need to work out for.
Right, I see. Okay, so you're kind of saying what is the different types of self-care? So when we talk about self-care, আমরা কিলা different kitas আছে self-care or maze.
Well, so this mental self care, isn't it? How do you look after your mind?
Yeah.
Your mind, remember, your mind is the most powerful force in this universe, right? So in that
Okay.
self care, how are you educating your mind? What are you learning? Are you learning different skills? Are you, it could be learning new music or reading book or learning how to
Mm,
meditate or one of the really good way of managing stress. People your listeners probably not are aware of this. When you pray, one of the
mm,
best way of managing is because when you're praying, you're meditating, you're in a calm place, you're in a calm zone. For that 20-30 minutes, you are actually meditating, you are relaxing your body, your blood pressure,
mm,
your temperature. That's one of the ways of doing it. The other stress, like managing self-care, is look at your diet every day, because this
mm.
stuff, remember, what you eat is going to have a major impact in the way you perform. If you're going to
Yeah.
eat everything that's unhealthy for you every day, your body's
Mm,
not going to be able to digest that, is it? So you're putting out your body under a lot of stress. And the other
mm,
thing is your environment. Now, when I'm talking about your environment, I'm not only just talking about. I'll give you another. I tell you what I mean by environment. There's two level. First of all, where
mhm.
you live, your house, right, or
Yeah.
your flat, or whatever that is. How is that? Like, is your you have to look at that environment, how you live, right, and
Mhm.
then also that comes into your social network. When you got your social network, it's really important. If you've got your friends, what kind of friends do you have? How do they help you? Have you got friends that you can talk to? Do they give you good advice? Have they got empathy? Do they support you? Do they encourage you? If you've got friends who are always going to be negative about you,
Mhm.
discourage you from doing things, well, you need to evaluate that, right? So there's
Right.
different, there's emotional stress. The self-care is about emotionally. One of the things you can do, you have to learn how to love yourself and how to like yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. And not to
Okay.
self-sabotage yourself. If one of the things that we all need to learn is in Bangla, you say Maya, yeah? Nizen
Mm.
is Maya. If you can't Maya yourself, then how are you
Yeah.
gonna love someone else and
Someone
care for
else, of
yourself?
course.
Yeah?
And my go-to saying is always, "You can't pour out of an empty jug." So if you're
Yes.
empty yourself, how can you give to other people around you? You can't. So if you've got children or if you've got a partner, if you're in a bad space or a dark place as such, how are you going to help your family until you help yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, how can we develop a self-care plan then? So, আমরা যদি নিজে নিজরে ঠিক রাখতাম চাই, we're going to start this self-care plan. What is our first step and how can we develop it?
Well, so Amina, you're talking about goal setting here, right? In life
Okay,
coach, we call
goal
it goal.
setting. Yep.
So goal setting is this. So we call it aim objective and all that, but I'm gonna but basically to simplify one for your award audience.
Yeah.
On a piece of paper, you just write down what you're doing at the present time, right?
Okay.
And from that, write down what is really good for me. So if you do
Okay.
a list of what's really good for me and what's
Yeah.
really bad for me, and from that you can develop it and say,
Okay.
right. So for example, let me give. So if you do a list, you say, I smoke, I drink, I eat a lot of takeaway, I don't have lack of sleep, my relationship's not really good. I haven't got really support network. Well, that is straight away that
Mhm.
identify 6 or 7 things that's not right in your life. Then you can do another list, right? What can I do to change that? So you can say, right, in my diet, I'm going to look at a healthy diet, what I'm going to eat. My sleeping habit, how am I going to change my sleeping habit? Am I going to go bed early? Am I going to stop looking at the mobile phones an hour before I go sleep? Uh,
Mhm.
yeah. And then you can say, like, what in
Yes.
terms of improving my listen, one of the physical way of improving your health is this. You don't need to join a gym. In London, you have enough parks, yeah, right? It costs you nothing. All you need is a trainer
Okay.
and comfortable clothes to wear. Go for a walk, right? Just go for a
Okay.
walk. Go for 20
Yeah.
minutes, 30 minutes, walk slowly, do some physical exercise. The other thing is practice like detoxing from internet and mobile phones. Say, right, for 1 or 2 days, I'm not going to look at the phone for a few hours, and I'm going to see how that manages my stress and my self-care. So you're not because
Show no stressed out with your phone.
yeah,
Isn't
so
it?
that's
Phone like battery low yalle dekha jay manchoru battery low is like they're like, "Oh my god, my battery is low. What can I do?" You know?
there you go. Because now we've become in a society where we feel that we need constantly to be engaged with other people and get stressed about
Connected with people that aren't actually in the room. Like আমরা
it.
তো এক রুমের মাঝে আমরা ২ জন ৫ জন বইতাম পারি। But actually how much are we interacting? আমরা খেয়ে খার লগে কত আন মাতি আর সবই তো ফোন টিফানি।
Well, do you know what? I'm glad you said that because I share a story with you. So I went up to Meridian just about 5 months ago for a
Okay.
beautiful wedding. I don't know if you've been to the Meridian
Yeah,
wedding
yeah.
center. No,
Yeah.
it's a lovely place, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the bride and the groom were coming through, like when they come to the stage. And do you know what everyone was doing? They were on the mobile phone taking pictures. And I just thought to myself, look, these two wonderful young people walking through, enjoy the moment. You don't need to take the picture. Now, the other thing I'm sure you probably observed when you go out with your friends, have you noticed when people order food, right? What do they do? Oh, wait, let me take the
Take
picture. Yeah,
photos of the food.
yeah.
Well, you
So
have
what?
to because you have
Yeah,
to
but
put it on
why?
social media, right?
Yeah, but this is the problem. Why do you need to show anyone what you're eating? And what's the value in that? There's no value in that.
There isn't, but we live in a society where we feel those pressures on us, those invisible
No.
pressures. Like, you know what, everyone's doing it. I want to do it too. And if I don't do it, people think I'm not part of that circle, or actually I'm not doing these nice things because there's not a photo on my Facebook or my Instagram or something, you know?
But Abina, you just highlighted something. You said society.
Yeah.
It's not society. It's individual feeling that they have to do it. Society doesn't tell you what to do. The mobile phone doesn't tell you what to do. But us as an individual, we feel that we need to do that. No one's telling us what to do. We feel we need to do
Mm,
that. So we are putting pressure on ourselves. Now, I tell you
mm,
something else. One of the other thing that which is quite disturbing and it's not really healthy, we are getting to a society where, in terms of self-care, we order far too much takeaway. For a nation that loves watching cooking programs and bakery and whatever that is, everyone I know are the Uber ads, Uber and whatever, what do you call it? Yeah, oh my God. People, you know what? I have got a client that ordered a McDonald's coffee because I said to him, why couldn't you make coffee at home?
Okay.
Yeah. I said, why couldn't you not order coffee from home? He said, no, but it's easy, Josh. I just I'm in bed and I'll press the app and the food will be the drink will be in my house in 5 minutes. Now, for me, that is really stress. That is really, really unhealthy because what you're saying, I'm going to outsource cooking. So next thing, I'll tell you what's going to happen in 20 years' time. We're going to have some company coming in and feed you because the way we're going at the moment, we don't want to cook, we don't want to do anything. Do you see what I mean?
Listen, in 20 years' time, we'll be at that age when people need to feed us anyway.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. So that's stress because what we're saying, we're outsourcing our feelings to other people. We're outsourcing everything that we should be doing for ourselves. Because everything.
Of course, and cooking is actually quite therapeutic. I know I don't cook a lot, but when I do find it quite therapeutic, and it's a form of art, and you see your creative flow come out. And sometimes we do it as a family. You know, me and my little one, we might do it, and actually, it's quite nice, that bonding time.
Yeah, and you hit a really valuable point here, because when you're cooking, you are looking at what ingredients you're putting. You've got fresh ingredients. You know what products are going into it, right? And you're teaching your kid a valuable skill, right? It's a family time. It's managing stress. It's self-care. It's healthy eating. Now, when you get a takeaway, right? I'm not saying takeaway is bad. Far from that. Yeah, of course you can have takeaway. You can, yeah, but it's about balance, isn't it? It's about looking. Am I going to eat takeaway every day? Or no? So it's about balance. You know, everything in moderation, right? So please don't. I'm not trying to say that everything's bad. And you know, you have to, as an individual, you have to take responsibility for your action.
And sometimes, you know what, self-care could also be getting a takeaway that you're really stressed out. You've had a long day. You don't have the energy to cook, and you want to spend some time with the family. And cooking would mean not having that time with them. So maybe you do get a takeaway and you sit in front of the TV or put a movie on or something, you know. And that is also another form of self-care. So I suppose everything in moderation, as you say, is good. But it just depends, isn't it, on that time and that space. So it kind of leads me on to my next sort of question, is that, you know, when we talk about self-care, look after Khoriyar, or, you know, we're going out with friends, we might be even getting a takeaway, for instance. Some people will look at that as being selfish. So self-care, oh, you're being selfish. That, okay, if I remove myself from a toxic environment, let's just say the group of friends I have, or relatives, you know, tarabuya, khali negative matoin, khali o normat matoin, and I don't like that, and I remove myself from that. English, you know, she's selfish, you know. There's so many, you know, comments that you get from that. What's your take on that?
Well, I think what you said is a very valuable question, and you highlighted something really important. When you identify that you are in a toxic relationship and the group of people that you are with are not healthy for you, that's a very mature and a confident person. That's about looking after yourself, because by acknowledging that you need some time off, you don't need to be around these people, you are actually in a more powerful position. Because what you're saying, look, I need to look after who I am, because remember, if you don't look after yourself, no one's going to look after you. And it's not being selfish. I think it's been very mature. I think what you said there, it's been very mature. It shows a sign of confidence, and it shows someone who's resilient and who's also aware of their limited, you know, limited boundaries and visions. So I think you know, if people say to yourself, you say, well, that's your perspective, it's not mine. Well, what I'm doing is I'm looking after myself. So for me, that's not, you know, but you can say it in a nice way rather than, you know.
Of course. So then how can we ensure that we maintain those positive relationships with our friends or family who sort of have that negative outlook on life? So basically what I'm trying to say is or bad matibo, negative matibo, our mental health or effect, but they are still my friends or they are still my family. আমরা কিলা maintain করতাম পারমু that relationship, whereas still also not letting it affect us.
But I mean, okay, I'll give you one of the tips. You can always say this, right? You can always, as I said to you earlier, you cannot control what other people say, because that, you know, that's their thoughts, their ideas, their vision, whatever that is. I tell you what my gran used to say. I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to say what my gran used to say.
Yeah, of course,
She used
go
to
for
say,
it.
my gran used to say to me, "Zudi kichu balazano na tebat kichu koina." Does that sound right?
Yeah,
So
of
she used to
course,
say,
yeah.
if you have got nothing good to say about someone, don't say anything bad.
Don't say nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's up to you as a person, right, to say, look, what I'm about to say, is that going to be helpful, or how is that going to impact on that? You know, it's about having empathy and looking from the other person's perspective of how they feel when you say something. But you can manage your relationship by saying, look, there's certain boundaries, I'm not going to cross that. And you can be quite clear, say, look, what if you say this to me, I'm not really happy and I don't want that, but I'm going to be your friend, I'm going to be your sister, I'm going to be your brother, but I have certain expectation and I have certain rules, and please do not offend them, because you can be quite clear, say, look, I love you, I care for you, you're my friend, you're my family, but I have boundaries. So if you make yourself clear of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, then people will be fine with that.
Okay. So basically আমরা মানুষরে কইতাম যে আমরার একটা rules আছে, আমরার একটা boundaries
No,
আছে.
don't say it like
I
that.
still love you, but actually this is me and I hope you can respect that
Yeah, but
too.
you know, Bengali people, you need to be quite thinking about it. You say like boundaries, I'm like, what are you talking about, boundaries, man? So you need to say, I don't know how you say it, but you know,
Bengali is a Bengali lakan solo.
yeah, yeah, they're going to say that to you. So with Bengali community are very beautiful, articulate community. There's a beautiful, nice way you have to say it to them, you know, Maya way, you know, because they all just say you're being funny, or what's the matter with you? Are you crazy? Do you get it? So
Fagol ni da kita khos
yeah,
boundary.
yeah. They'll say, "Oh my god, you keep crazy." So
Yeah, আমরা সারা জীবন আমরা গেছে, আমরা কোনো boundaries আছিল না, আমরা কোনো
Yeah.
জয় আছিল না. We didn't even have space. আমরা কইবা
what is
তোমরা খালি space করো. আমরা এক রুমের মাঝে আমরা 5 জন থাকছি.
yeah? Oh, so what is boundary in Bengali anyway? What is boundary?
Boundaries is like shima, isn't it?
Shima.
Yeah, এর জন্য
Okay.
সীমা কিতা, এর জন্য
Well,
লিমিট
you can
কিতা.
say, look, man, this is my shima, and this is this. Yeah. Don't cross that shima, okay? This is it. No way. Do not cross that ribbon, okay? I don't know.
আমরা বাঙালি, আমরা মানুষের সীমা ফাড়ি দেই all the time. আমরা যার you know, একজনে আরেকজনের জায়গা দখল করি, সীমা ফাড়ি দেই. Come on.
But if you think about it,
It's not DNA.
but if you, I'm just going to say slightly something, you know, just to add something here. When we talk about a Bengali community, I think they don't realize and acknowledge, they're a very resilient community. They're very powerful. You know, they came from Bangladesh. They came from the village. Look at what they achieved, right? They're strong people.
Absolutely.
They're strong-minded. They're business-minded. They're culturally gifted. They're resilient. They're able to manage. Listen, you know, they came to a country where they did not know the weather. The food was different. The weather was different.
There was a language barrier, you know, and they still managed through it. Of course they did.
Absolutely. So Bengali community, right, are very strong-minded when it comes to self-care, and they can manage. They got their potential, their skill set to manage stress. They have demonstrated. Look, they come here. They've done business, gone into fashion, culture, music, brought their own homes. So that's a very strong-minded community who demonstrate quite clearly that they're powerful. They're business-minded. You know, they got a lot of skill sets. They should be really proud of. The Bengali community already have the DNA to be that, and they should be really proud of what they've done.
Of course, absolutely. They should be. They should be. So, Josh, we're just going to take a quick break and then we'll be back after the break. So, viewers, আমরা লগে থাকুকা, আমরা quick একটা break লইয়া বাদে আমরা ফিরিয়া ইয়ার.
For excessive research and bad experiences, he finally found out Sure Secure, the best CCTV security service systems provider. They have experience over 15 years long. They provide quality and professional security installations, from intruder alarms to CCTV systems, in addition to access control. Their products are of the highest quality, using up-to-date technology equipment range. Their CCTV range allows for live viewing, playback, and the ability to digitally zoom using high-definition images. The CCTV images can be monitored in crystal clear Full HD 1080p and 4K quality with a smartphone, tablet, desktop computer, or even your laptop. With Sure Secure, now Bob can check up on his properties remotely from anywhere in the world. After each installation, they make sure that you are fully trained in order to use the equipment and respond quickly to any fault. Whether you're looking for domestic, commercial, or industrial services, Sure Secure will design and build the perfect security system for all your needs.
Hello and welcome back, viewers, listeners. So we were discussing stress. Stress is also a part of our lives. So, Josh, how can we turn stress into something positive?
You could, well, there's several ways you could do that. So first of all, in order to change stress into positive, first of all, you must acknowledge that this is stress.
Okay.
Once you acknowledge that you're under stress, then you can have a plan. So the plan could be like saying, right, from A to B, this is what I'm going to do. So you can have a goal set. As I said about goal setting, you can say, right, I'm going to have a plan to reduce stress in my life. So it could be, right, look, I'm going to stop smoking, right? It's not easy, but what can I do to stop smoking, right? So you may say, I'm going to go and see a doctor. I'm going to get support from other holistic practitioners. So, you start looking at a plan set. The other way you managing stress, you can look at all the things in your life, do a list of all the things in your life that's making you stress. Now, as I said to you before, some things, stress is part of our life anyway, but stress is not bad or good. It's about how you manage that, right? For example, when you go to work, it's stress, right? Because you have to talk to people, you got tasks to do. Most people hate other people that they work with because they got communication difficulties. They don't like to be managed by others. They hate doing tasks. Now, look at how you manage that. You edit what you say. You look at how you spend your time. So there is different techniques you can use. But the first thing I will say is you have to acknowledge that you are under stress, and then you can have a plan. Because if you don't acknowledge it, then it's not going to work.
Stressed. This is a sign of stress.
Yes. Okay. And then you can say, right, I'm stressed and I need to get to B, and this is the plan. Then you need to have a plan. So one of the ways to manage stress, like for me as a life coach, so I help people to manage stress. So you can go and see someone, a life coach, a counselor, or talk to someone who you trust and look at the ways, for example, if you're stressed, like you're overweight or something like that, you can go and see a health practitioner, a GP, or join a gym. So if it's a medical thing, make sure you go and see a physician to get that support. If you're stressed out mentally, please always seek medical support all the time. Right?
All the time, yeah,
all the time. And you know what? Mental illness and mental well-being is part of life. It's okay. If you're feeling depressed, if you've got anxiety, if you're feeling burnout, it's okay. Then ask for help. Because that's your body telling you and your mind telling you, look, I need a time out.
Yeah, and there's no, like I say, there's no stigma, there's no shame, in saying to people that I am stressed out, that আমার চিন্তা লাগে or আমার একটা, অশান্তি লাগে, and I am seeking help for it. There's no shame in that. But আমরা একটা যে আছে যে stress মানুষের হইলিলে ও মুখ পাগল মুখ কথা, we start judging them, but actually we need to change our mentality around it. Especially in the modern world, manchur khotozator stress ase, and I kind of touched on it in my introduction, is that back in the days, if we look at our parents and our grandparents, they didn't have technology, they didn't have machinery, they didn't have the ability just to call anybody and everybody within seconds, right? But they still managed, and they did, of course, they did have their mental health issues that maybe because the science wasn't there. But they still coped really well. Amra, in this day and age, we've got everything in our hand, in our phone, basically. And even then, we don't have time, and we're so stressed out, and like the elders look down on us and they think, what are you guys stressed out about? Tumra to shop ta ready made. Like, ready made khaniu fao. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But their stress, see, their stress was different and different. See, each generation have different stress, different way of living, and it's about managing that, isn't it? I mean, one of the things you said earlier to me is, how do you put yourself first without feeling guilty? Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So that is really important question. You can ask that question to your listeners can ask that. Do an exercise. Say, look, how do I put myself first? And who's the
Mm,
most important person that you need to look after in this world? Because you're only going to get one shot in this life. Yeah, this is not
mm,
a rehearsal. So
mm.
you might as well be the best and perform to your best of your abilities, isn't it? So
Yes.
I think it's a good sign when someone says, "Look, I'm feeling a bit, bit stressed out, bit of
Mm.
anxiety, but I'm going to do something about this." Yeah,
And sometimes the communication helps as well because তুমি যদি মানুষের যারা লগে আসো, যারা লগে চলরা, if you say to them, you know what, today I'm actually having a bit of a difficult time. আমার
yeah,
আজকে মন বেশ ভালো না, আমার একটু stress লাগে. Maybe they take a step back or they will also support you through it, help you through that as well, isn't it? Like you have to have that communication, open communication. Like again, there's no shame, there's no, shorom in basically saying that I'm having a difficult time right now.
yeah. Well, on that, you know what? I'll give you something quickly. Your listeners can do an exercise for themselves. Yeah, there's few
Okay.
questions they can ask for themselves. One, what makes you feel powerful? Two, what makes you feel calm? Three, what makes you feel in control? Four, how do you encourage yourself when you're trying something new? Right? What
Okay.
five? What choices you can make this week based on your needs? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Six, how do you shift your mindset if it isn't working for you? Right? How
Okay.
do you recharge your batteries? Right? What can you do to celebrate today? Now, one of the things we don't do as human beings, and we always do the mistake, we don't celebrate our achievement. Now, let me give you an example. You might have done something last week, yeah, Amina,
Mm-hmm.
but I bet you haven't celebrated that, did you? Because we don't celebrate, do we?
You're asking the wrong person about
Okay.
celebrations
Oh,
here,
do
like
you? Okay, so you do. But you see what I mean? Sometimes what we forget, we should celebrate, right?
yeah.
Do adventure things, celebrate who we are. That's one of the way of managing stress and self-care. Achievement. Be happy for what you achieved.
And it's also some form of encouragement, isn't it? Because we
Yes.
do this with children, like when they do small things and they do really well, we reward them, be it a reward chart, be it, at
Yeah.
the end of the week or by the time they get 50 points or something, they can get a toy, whatever. But you should probably do that for yourself as well. Like reward yourself.
Yeah. Another thing I would say is, as to your listeners, is this: how do you practice self-love and self-kindness to yourself? And that's
Hmm.
really key question. That's something you can practice. It takes time. You practice that. And the other thing is, when you find yourself in situations, learn from that. What have I learned
Yeah.
from this? What are the
Yeah.
opportunities for me to learn? Because
Mm,
listen, in life, I'm going to say this: in
yeah.
life, pain is inevitable. Suffering is an option.
Okay. Yes.
You're always
Okay.
going to get pain, but suffering is an option. You have a choice.
And that's basically bringing it back to that self-inflicted kind of stress. তা যেটা জিনিস আমরা কন্ট্রোলের মাঝে নাই। এটা লইয়া আমরা চিন্তা করতে আমরা বেশি বেমারও পড়ি যাই। So
Yeah,
many people go into depression, they go
yeah,
into a lot of other mental health issues, which then has a effect on their physical health. And so we can basically control that if we can understand that, you know what, this is what's happening. This is the part that I can control, and this is the part that I can't control, and I have to wait for it to do its thing. So let it finish its thing and let it go through the motions, and then I will deal with the outcome.
absolutely. And one of the questions that your listeners can ask is this: whenever you face stress or difficult challenge in their life, you can always ask this question: what new opportunities have come out of this challenge that I faced? And another one,
Mm,
you can say, how do you remind yourself that you're good enough? Now that's an exercise you can do. Look around you, what you achieved. Yeah, even
mm,
if you achieve something small
yeah.
to you, but it might be bigger to someone else. But for example, you might say, right, today I managed to finish 5 tasks. I've done A, B, C, D. That's managing stress. Tick that off. Say, well done. Pat yourself in the back and say, do you know what? Today has been really successful day for me. It could be
Yeah.
you just gone to see your mum for one day.
Yeah.
That's a really, really good thing you've done.
Yeah.
Your mum might have been lonely. She might have been stressed out, but by
Mm,
you visiting her and seeing her,
yeah.
that's achievement, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
you
of
know
course. Of course.
So that the small, they're called, we call them small things, but they're not. They're quite a huge, important thing in managing stress and self care.
Mm,
Your family and your friends
mm.
are important to you too, for your well
Of
being.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So like men and women, they deal with stress in different ways because obviously our DNAs, our hormones, they're all built in different ways. Um, but in your experience, what's the major differences that you found between men and women managing stress? So why I say this is
No,
in my experience is that men tend to bottle it up. So তারা বেশি মাত্রাছাই না তারা শরম লাগে ও আমি যদি কই আমার স্ট্রেস তে সবে লইয়া আসিবা সবে ডং করবা ও কইবা ও তুই বেটা গুইছ তোর আর স্ট্রেস কিতা বেটা গুল্লা খান সল, you know what I mean? So that's my experience, but as you as a life coach, what was your experience in men and women and the differences?
well, first of all, I will say this: stress is stress. It doesn't matter who you are, man or woman. It doesn't matter, right? And stress doesn't see race, color, gender, or Bengali or whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
But each stress is unique to itself and to the individual and the individual circumstance, right? So
Mhm.
one of the things is when you feel, when you're in stressful situation, it's about self-empowering, self-nurturing, right? And it's about not being selfish, to acknowledge. First of all, for me, for men and women, it doesn't matter where you are. When you're stressed out, it's about, again, I'm going to go back, it's about acknowledging that you're stressed and then
Okay.
saying to yourself, what opportunities do I have to change this? Now,
Mm.
if you say life is not fair, listen, life is not going to be fair. Okay.
Fair enough.
Life is not fair. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you say, right, I am facing these challenges and this stress, how can I make this, challenges, these challenges that I'm facing best to my abilities? What can I do to remove myself from that situation? And what can I do to enhance my skill sets? Yeah. And have a better quality life. The only person who can answer is you as an individual person. I can't answer that. You can't answer
Yeah.
that. So stress is, going back, it's an individual, it's unique, it's
Mm.
assigned to that individual person. But what you could do in generally, universally, when you got stress, as I said,
Mm.
it's about having plans, having goal sets, looking at,
Mm.
having a good vision. It's about self-respect. It's about being resilient, self-empowering, and then looking at what support network you have, like, from
Mm.
GPs to well-being coaches, to healthy diet, all that. So it's taking that into account.
So do you think like men show stress in different ways to women?
Well, men. I think there's a myth, yeah, that men don't like to talk about stress, or do you know what that is? I think it's been put out there. But listen, I go with guys, and I know, who talk openly about their emotional, physical, financial problems or how they
Mm.
feel. I think there is a myth. I think most men want to talk. Yeah,
Mm.
it's just that sometimes it's not because of pressure. I think it's just they feel like if they say something, they might feel that they're not men or something like that. But I don't think I think it's a myth. I don't think it's true. I mean, but women
Okay.
again, I don't think going back to that women are openly talk about their stress. They don't, not all the time.
Mm.
Some stuff they keep it secret. They don't want to talk about it. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it
Okay.
depends on your. I think it depends on your company and your network of support that you have.
Okay. Yeah, whether
Does
you're
that make sense?
comfortable enough to speak
Yeah,
out to a certain person or a
yeah.
group of people in
Well,
that
let me
sense.
give you an example. If you go out to social event, right, and you
Mhm.
said, "Oh, my name is Amina," and someone said, "Oh, my name is, I don't know, Jack," and they said, "Oh, I'm really stressed out," you'd be like, "Oh my god, I'm out of here," right? Because you don't, because
তুমি
nobody
তোমার
wants to
স্ট্রেস
know that.
লইয়া বউরে ভাই আমি গেলাম।
Yeah, because if you say to someone you meet, yeah,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm
Yeah.
stressed out," they're like, "Oh, all right, mate. Okay, anyway, listen, what are you doing tomorrow?" They don't want to know because most people just like move on, don't they?
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
about it's about being comfortable who you talk to. So I think there's a myth about, oh, men don't feel comfortable talking, but they do. If they've got someone who they trust, respect, and care for, they'll be open. They'll open up. And
Mm.
obviously, some men don't want to open up because it's. But that is again is another topic which we don't have time to go into.
Okay. So, in some of our discussions, we kind of touched on emotional intelligence. So, what do you mean by emotional intelligence? And then I'll ask you the following question from that is how can we develop strategies to become emotionally intelligent?
Well, I don't know what's in Bengali emotional intelligence in Bengali.
Oh, now you're really testing me. Emotional intelligence is like manushik, like awareness or intelligence. I know what they like, to
Yeah.
be clever about your emotions,
So yeah,
basically.
so I'm just going to say one or two things, not too much, because I don't want to go into too much of the. So emotional intelligence is about, first of all, is understanding how your actions, your behavior impacts on the other person, and also understanding from the other person, having empathy, its listening skills, ability to empathize with the other person, concerns or issue that they're facing, right?
Okay, যে আমরা যারা লগে আছি তারা কি তার feelings, তারা কি
Yeah,
তার problem face করে,
yeah.
how would I feel if I was
And
in their shoes?
the other thing is you're putting yourself in the other person's perspective and looking
Yes.
at it from the other person's point of view, and
Mm,
having the patience, the skills to listen and appreciate what the other person's going through and understanding.
mm. Like
That's part
dismiss
of it.
করতাম না আমরা যে একজনের একটা প্রবলেম আছে, আমরা শুনমু,
Yeah,
আমরা বুঝার ট্রাই করমু।
and having
sympathy
yeah,
basically means আমরা দেখাইমু যে আমরার একটা sympathy, what is it? Like we're understanding, আমরার
yeah.
একটা understanding আছে।
So yeah, so the emotional intelligence is about being aware of how, also it's about being aware of your self-regulation. When I mean about self-regulation, I'm talking about how do you talk, how does there's non-verbal and verbal communication, yeah. How you
Mm,
performing. So when you meet people, are you being
mm,
aggressive? Are you being rude? Are you shouting? Are you screaming?
mm,
Or sometimes you might be not saying anything. You just be quiet. Yeah. So it's about
mm,
self-regulating yourself. The way you talk, how you look at someone. For example,
okay.
you might meet someone, it might be really aggressive towards you, but like, hold on, whoa, easy, take it easy, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you see what I mean? And also, when we're talking about emotional intelligence, I'm also talking about energy. Yeah, is
Okay.
do you understand what I mean by energy? Your
No, please,
no,
please
okay.
give
I'm
us
gonna
some
have to say
insight.
energy. Energy is what we exist. It's currency, isn't it? It's like electric
Okay.
going through our body and mind, right? So when emotional intelligence is also about how you perform with your energy. So when you meet people, how do you show up?
Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
and
Okay.
does that make sense? I'm trying to see
Yeah.
if you can Bengali
Yeah.
word.
So basically একজনে যদি আমরার কাছে খান্দের ও আমার ওলা হইছে এখন আমরাও লগে তারার লগে খান্দিমুনি, or are we going to show them that okay, we're understanding where you're coming from, but I'm also here as your support.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I
And
understand that you're going through some difficulty, but sometimes it's out of our control to do anything about it. But at least we're listening, we're there for that person. And the other thing is, if someone is coming crying to you and you kind of dismiss them, and you're like, oh well, that's not a problem. That's
yeah,
that's not something that you need to worry about, and or just carry on with life. Todo তুমি তারারে, you push them back into another box that they're trying to
yeah,
come out with something and talk about something. But আমরা আবার তারে dismiss
yeah.
করলিছি.
Absolutely, and also emotional intelligence, but self awareness about who
Mm,
you are. You know,
mm,
uh, um, and so if we put day to day interaction with our colleagues, our friends, our family,
yeah.
it's about being aware of, like, saying, look, what I'm about to say or what I'm about to conduct, how is that going to have an impact on
Mm,
this person? Yeah.
okay.
Or if
Yeah.
someone's talking to us, understanding and showing empathy, saying, "Oh my God, this person's going through that. Oh, okay, I understand. I really appreciate that,
Yeah.
and I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to comfort them, and I'm going to try to see how I can help them." Do you see what I mean?
Find a solution. So it's a bit like customer services, isn't it? আমরা যদি একটা
Customers,
problem লইয়া যাই, and then if we're saying, oh, this product is broken and I took it home and নিয়া ফাইছি banga and whatever, and the other person starts shouting at you, how do you feel? When you go for customer services, you want them to understand your issue, your problem, and then find a solution to it, right?
yeah. And the other thing I'll say, about self care and emotional intelligence. One of the things that we should all remember this, yeah, you should forgive yourself. Yeah,
Okay.
forgive
Okay.
yourself. It's okay. You can say to yourself, it's okay. Today's not been a good day, or I have not done that today. It's fine.
Mm,
Accept that. Yeah. Forgiveness
mm,
within yourself starts managing stress. Okay. And sometimes you can say, look, I could have done better, but tomorrow's another beautiful day and I'm going to do
I will
even better.
try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so don't feel guilty for, anything like that. It's fine.
Mm.
What I'm going to say
Mm,
to you and your
yeah, go
listeners
on.
is this: every single emotion that you go through, anger, fear, anxiety, stress, depression, self doubt, it's all fine. It's part of your human DNA. It's part of
Okay.
who you are. It's about saying, it's about acknowledging, and you know, in Bengali, you grab it. What's the word in Bengali? Grab.
W-
Grab. I'm saying grab those feelings and
Okay.
take. Do you understand? Grab them,
Yeah.
hold them, and own them, and take them and
Mm.
turn it around for more positivity. If you know what
So
I mean?
basically আমরা যেটা feelings that's in our DNA. So আমরা
Yeah,
একটা as human beings আমরা
yeah,
এটা feelings থাকবো। So যে
yeah,
feelings আইবো আমরা এটারে like basically don't dismiss it, accept it that
yeah,
এটা আমরার feelings এগুলো is part of our human nature and actually আমরা নিজে নিজরে like মাফ করিয়া দিতাম হইবো that you know
yeah,
what maybe I did make a mistake but tomorrow
yeah.
কালকে আরেক দিন আছে কালকে I'm gonna try better.
And guess what? Feeling is part of us. It's okay.
Mm,
But
yeah.
if we want to be human beings, that's what makes us unique and special human race,
Mm,
because we have feelings
mm,
for each other, we have feelings for ourselves, and that's why we struggle, yeah, in life, because that's what
yeah.
makes us get anger, frustration. And remember this: all these feelings are great. It's about,
Mhm.
again, I keep on saying, you know, when we cry for sad, joy, happiness, don't we? Yeah,
Yeah.
we are feeling low, upset. It's all part of us. But it's
Mm.
all about educating ourselves and saying, right, how am I going to manage that? Because sometime, yeah, you might cry, it's fine. There's nothing you
Yeah,
can
and
do about it.
crying is actually probably a release of that
Yeah,
bottled up tension, isn't it? So it's
yeah.
okay to cry,
And some
whether it is happy
and,
joys or sad tears. You know,
yeah,
it's
and other
part of
times
it.
it's good to be angry. It's okay to be angry. It's as long
Mm,
as you restrain it. We know not angry with the other person, but it's good to be angry in terms of like, yeah, I'm angry. I'm not done well. It's fine as long as you use it in a positive way, not a negative way. Yeah. So,
yeah,
but
we have to embrace those feelings as well. And
yeah,
know that it is normal. It is normal. And if you don't feel anger, যখন তোমার এজনে মারিয়া গেছে গিয়া তোমার গুছে উঠে না, you know, it's questionable. Like, hold on a sec, what's going on here? Why are you feeling angry?
yeah. And the other thing is, you know, one the other technique I'll share with your listeners is sometimes just take a time out. Just,
Mm,
you know, for example, just, you know, when you go to a mosque, just sit there, or you go for a walk, or
mm,
whatever. Just
mm,
take time out and say, look, I'm going to give me time. Me
mm,
time
mm.
mean I'm going to do, you know, get a haircut, or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, anything, just to take
Anything
yourself.
that makes you feel good or
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
Yeah.
Me, and
Okay.
sometimes we don't do me time enough. Me time. We're
No.
surrounding people. We just want to do this, you know. And look at,
Okay.
you know, I will say to your listeners, do an exercise. Look at what's really, making you stress, and see what you can do about it. And I guarantee you, when they do that exercise, they will say, "Oh my God, it's a light bulb moment. I know what I need to do."
Mm.
Yeah,
নিজে নিজেরে time দিতে হইব। That's the main thing, isn't it? That you have to put some time aside for yourself. Do the things that you enjoy, you like. You know, if
yeah,
you've got children, maybe, you know, seek out support. Like, okay, can you have my child for 1 hour, half a day? You know, I'm going to do this and this, and have that support network around you. And also the support network, তাই তাই বুঝতা যে, you know what, ইমানচে যদি একটা জিনিস করে, it's not because they're being selfish, it's because they need that time out too.
yeah. Of course, of course. You need that time out all the time.
So, on our sort of final words to you, you have touched on it, but just before we kind of end the show, where can we get support from? So, if we find out that আমরা বেশি stressed out হইছি আর আমরা ঘুমন না ঠিক মতো, আমরা খানিও না ঠিক মতো, obviously we can try our own, therapies as such, things like exercise or talking to people. But where would you say is the best place to go and seek help and try and deal with it?
Look, as I said before, if you feel really, really stressed out, always seek medical support from your GP. They can refer you to mental well-being practitioners. You can refer yourself to counselors, qualified counselors or coaches,
Mhm.
or those kind of support networks. But remember, do not get medical advice from someone who's not medically qualified. Okay,
Not from Google.
yeah. Dr. Google is not really good for you, right? The other thing is, when you're managing stress, first of all, as I said before, what is causing you stress? Because
Mhm,
remember, you know your body and mind better than anyone else.
mhm.
If you can identify that, and sometime if you can't, then you can obviously get support. Right? Look at this. I mean, for example, there is mental well-being support groups. You can look on the internet. What support group there? The men's group, women's group. There's reflexology. There's social networking group for people with single mothers. So there's support. There's
Okay.
not a different support network.
Support
You can
network.
look, yeah. And for example, if you're looking to get fit and healthy, there's lot. As I said, you don't need to go to the gym. You can go to the park. You can join a park walking group, hiking group, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So first of all, identify what is happening.
Mm.
Then seek appropriate professional support. If it's mental well-being and you're not feeling depressed, anxiety, fear, go and see your GP, right? They can refer
Mhm.
you to CAMS. There's CAM support workers.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of support out there, but make sure you do the research and find the right support for you.
And probably the initial stages that Foila is going to the doctors, and even
Yeah,
they can then guide you
yeah,
to the right support. And khano kita ase tarao dekhaya dito farbo,
yeah,
information dito farbo, isn't it?
yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. So, thank you, Joss, for your valuable time and your expertise today. I really do hope someone somewhere is listening to the show and will find that support and that encouragement to go and make the right choices for themselves, and basically not just make themselves aware of certain techniques that they can use, but also the people around them that they might see that he'll struggle for it. So how can I help them? So inshallah, you'll get your rewards for that. Yeah. So thank you again for your time.
That's so great. I hope I really enjoyed it, and I hope your listeners take away a little bit of what I said, and I wish them all luck. And your company is doing a great piece of work for advertising mental wellness and stress. So keep on doing the positive work, and thank you for the opportunity for me to share some
Thanks
ideas.
for taking all my calls every so often. I'm stressed out. I don't know what's going on.
All right. Take
You're
care.
always on the other side. But yeah, so dear viewers, আজকে আমরা লাগি তো সময় শেষ। মনে রাখুন যেন যে স্ট্রেস হইলো আমরা লাইফের একটা পার্ট। আমরা সব সময় একটা না একটা চিন্তা থাকবো। কোনো চিন্তা আছে আমরার কন্ট্রোলের ভিতরে, কোনো চিন্তা আছে আমরার কন্ট্রোলের ভিতরে নাই। যেটা আমরার কন্ট্রোলের মাঝে আছে, এটা তো আমরা যতখান পারি আমরার জশ ভাই কইছেন যে কত জাতর টেকনিকস আছে, প্লাস আমরা ডাক্তারেরও হেল্প লইতাম পারি। and যেগু আমরা কন্ট্রোলের ভিতরে নাই, তো এগুলো আমরা চিন্তা করিয়া লাভ নাই। সো আমরা এটারে যে লাইফ স্প্যান আছে স্ট্রেসর, ওটা মোশন যেটা আছে ওটা শেষ হইতে দক্কা বাদে শেষ হইয়া আনলে আপনারা এমনিও ডিল করতে পারবা। সো বেসিক্যালি স্ট্রেস আমরা ম্যানেজ করতাম পারি নিজে নিজে, যে টাইম মতো ঘুমাইতাম পারি, খাইতাম পারি, এক্সারসাইজ করতাম, আমরা মানুষের লগে দেখা করতাম, মেবি গপসপ করতাম। আমরা হয়তো একটা ট্রাস্টেড একজন ফ্রেন্ড আসেন বা ফ্যামিলির মানুষ আসেন যে আমরা স্ট্রেস কিতা আছে বা আমরা লাইফের মাঝে কিতা হইয়া তার আমরা ট্রাস্ট করি তানরে, সো তারার লগেও আমরা মারতাম পারি। সো মোস্ট অফ অল আমরা যদি বুঝি যে আমরা বেশি এফেক্ট ওর, দেন আমরা তো অবভিয়াসলি জিপির অ্যাডভাইস লইতাম, তার গাইডেন্স লইতাম। গাইডেন্স লওয়ার মাঝে কোনো শরম নাই। সো আমরা স্ট্রেস ডিল করা হইলো বেস্ট থিং। But in my experience and medication and therapy, yes, it is a good form of stress management. However, it is the month of Ramadan, and what I do go back to saying is that the best form of stress management, in my experience, I found was speaking to Allah. So speak to Allah. Allah can hear you. Allah is all-knowing. Allah can see everything, and of course, you find that inner peace in you as well. So seek guidance for yourself, and that is through your GPs and your different therapies. So Shabbala Tahoka, and until next time on Our Voice with Amina, only on Relax Radio Bangla. Thank you, viewers.
সকাল দুপুর সন্ধ্যা রাতে তোমার আমার কথা হবে রিল্যাক্স রেডিও বাংলায়, রিল্যাক্স রেডিও বাংলা।
রিল্যাক্স রেডিও